Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Holcim webinar to mark International Women's Day 2022. I'm Dana Janssen, Group Diversity and Inclusion Lead at Holcim. We are mindful that this International Women's Day is happening in troubling times with many families and communities affected across Eastern Europe and beyond. I would like to extend a special thanks to those women across our communities who are supporting those in need today, contributing to relief efforts, offering accommodation in their own homes, and providing essential aid to those who need it. It reminds us about how critical diversity and inclusion are for a society to thrive, and how important it is to bridge the gender gap. Now, more than ever, we are committed to doing this at Holcim. The theme of this year's International Women's Day is Break the Bias. To build a world that works for all, we are taking action at Holcim to create opportunities and the conditions for everyone to thrive. One of the key elements to build progress in diversity and inclusion is to address the perception that the building and construction industry is only interesting for the type of profiles we've traditionally seen here. During this webinar, we will discuss some of Holcim's flagship initiatives that are breaking the barriers in our industry to inspire others to accelerate on gender equality. We have with us today 3 builders of progress in our session, colleagues who are making remarkable actions to create a more inclusive company and industry. We have with us Astrid van der Burgt, Group Transportation and Safety Manager, and she will be sharing with us the exceptional project Women on Wheels. We also have Delores Prado, CEO of Ecuador, who will discuss the inspiring project of building an aggregate plant in Ecuador, where 52% of the employees are women. And lastly, we have with us Gareth Gordon-Jones, Financial Controller of Aggregates Industries, and he will talk to us about affinity networks that have been established in our operating company in the UK. I now let each of them introduce themselves. Over to you, Astrid.
Thank you very much, Dana. I'm very happy to be here today. So I have a background in logistics. I specialize in safety, both road safety and also the safety of dangerous goods by road. I've held many jobs, all transport related, including working as a driver. I joined Holcim in 2019, and I'm very proud to lead the Holcim Road Safety Program since last year. It made such an impact, and it was recognized with the Prince Michael International Road Safety Award in 2021.
Thank you, Astrid, and great to have you here. Delores, please could you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. I feel really very proud working for Holcim that strongly support women and give equal opportunities to move up in the company. I am Delores Prado. I have been working for 22 years in Holcim, starting in my native Nicaragua in Central America as commercial director. And for 15 years now, I have been CEO in several countries. Currently, I am CEO in Holcim, Ecuador. It's in all my professional life, especially when I rose to managerial position, I have been supporting women to grow and also giving chance to young people to climb positions. I am passionate about that, especially gender diversity.
Thank you, Delores. I know you are a big driver behind a lot of our initiatives, so really great to have you here. Lastly, Gareth, please can you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dana. Yes, so I've been with Aggregate Industries, a member of the Holcim Group, for coming up to 10 years now. So I started my role working in an operational and finance-based role, and most recently in finance. About a year ago, I was invited to chair one of our affinity groups. So here in the UK, we have 5 lively networks, which are led by the colleagues, where people have the opportunity to share their interests and goals and help make the company a more inclusive workplace.
Thank you, Gareth. We look forward to hearing more about that throughout the rest of this session. So it's an honor for me now to introduce 2 next generation change makers who are really active in our company to mobilize positive action to build progress for people and planet. The first one is Madhura Joshi, R&D engineer in Lyon. And secondly, we have Ioanna Kefala with us, health and safety manager in our Melaki plant in Greece. They will help us guide the conversation today. A big thank you to both of you, and I now hand over to you for the rest of the session.
Thank you, Dana. Greetings of the day to everyone who are tuned in with us today from different corners of the world. I wish to welcome you all and thank everybody who has joined us from different countries on the occasion of the International Women's Day 2022. My name is Madhura Joshi. I'm originally from Mumbai, India. I'm currently working at the Holcim Innovation Center based in Lyon, France, as a research and development engineer since September 2020. I'm really happy to be one of the women leading the innovative efforts to help develop low carbon building solutions for global needs at Holcim. I'm also happy to say that I'm actively supporting gender equality and cultural inclusion at the local level at the Innovation Center. I'm super proud to work for a company that has a target of increasing the senior management positions by 40% that are occupied by women by 2025. We all know that Holcim is a major industry player that provides women a conducive environment with equal opportunities to thrive in. Unfortunately, there's a huge misconception that our industry, the construction industry, is only for men. But there are opportunities for everyone. One great example of that is my co-moderator today, Ioanna. Over to you, Ioanna.
Thank you, Dana, and thank you, Madhura, for the introduction. I'm very happy to host this session with you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our International Day of Women live webinar. I'm Ioanna Kefala, the Plant Health and Safety Manager of Milaghi Plant in Greece. And I have my little story as a woman engineer in Holcim. When I first joined Holcim, I was actually the only woman engineer on the plant team. Even though it was challenging, I was overwhelmed, and very early, even the more cautious colleagues understood that diversity of mind, gender, is crucial for building progress for people on the planet. In 2021, I had this amazing opportunity to represent Holcim as a delegate at the One Young World Summit. During this summit, we interacted with pioneers and inspiring young leaders all over the world who were driving change in their fields, transforming them into more sustainable, more innovative, more diverse and inclusive. Two takeaways phrases still running in my mind filled me with passion and inspiration to build progress for people and planet. The one is get people involved when the iron is hot. And the other one is stop asking why, start asking when. Be skeptical and start the movement. Actually, the delegates, we came back passionate and excited to share this energy and inspiration we got from the summit. And that's why we created this impossible movement. A growing number of colleagues are joining into and making progress on diversity, equity, inclusion, and more. At Holcim, diversity and inclusion is a core element of our success. In our Holcim family, women have equal opportunities, are empowered and motivated to be themselves and encouraged to achieve their dreams. Astrid, Delores, and Gareth, welcome to our live session. It's an honor to interviewing you. You've all led remarkable projects that really make our industry more inclusive. Astrid, let me start with you. Can you tell us a bit about the program Women on Wheels?
Thank you, Ioanna. Yes, of course. Our Women on Wheels program aims to create the awareness of the opportunities for women, but also look at the challenges and the benefits of hiring women truck drivers. The program aims to influence management teams and transport partners to hire women to become large goods vehicle drivers. There is a global shortage of truck drivers, but yet only a small percentage of them are female. We put a program together, and one of the cornerstones of the program is to build partnerships with others. For example, building a partnership with a truck manufacturer like Volvo in South Africa, or with a reputable training organization for drivers and trade associations as well. Our Women on Wheels program is currently already active in a growing number of markets, from the USA to Uganda, from Mexico to South Africa. And today we've seen the official launch of the global program.
Very nice to have the official launch today in our International Women's Day. Thank you, Astrid. This is a remarkable program. Looking forward to hearing more later. So, Delores, could you please tell us about the exceptional project that you make our industry more inclusive and diverse in Ecuador?
Yes, thank you. It's an honor to be present. It's not my project, really, it's the project of Holcim Ecuador and the team, human resource and P&L owners and the COMEX. All begin when we received the confirmation of the CAPEX for the new aggregate plants in Ecuador. In that moment, we think that we could have a big dream. And this dream was to have at least 50% of women in this operation. For that, we make a lot of work and effort, and was possible to create this plan with 52% of women. This is our Loma Alta plant. It's located in Guayaquil, our biggest market. We have proven it can be done if we intentionally try and with all the actors involved supporting it. It starts with a commitment from our leaders. It started with a big dream, and it was not easy, but we proved we can do it.
Thank you, Delores. This is incredible. Loma Alta is the first of many gender-balanced plants to come in Holcim. Gareth, we are looking forward to hearing more about the affinity networks and especially the Women's Empowered Network. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ioanna. So the affinity network started because we started our ED&I journey a couple of years ago, and we weren't seeing the results we wanted. And one of the reasons for that was that we were lacking equity, we were lacking buy-in from the groups. So we developed 5 groups so that the different people could bring in their own concerns specific to the group. So we have 5 groups. We have the Women Empowered Network, as you've mentioned. We have the LGBTQ network. We have the Multicultural Network, Disability, and Age. So each one of those groups, they have a shared common goal, which is to proactively encourage conversation and experiences, to raise awareness around specific issues that those certain groups might face, and then to communicate that with the wider community of the company, which enables people to learn lessons and educate each other. We communicate it. We find the best communication through a scheme that we do, which is the listening circles. So I also chair the listening circles where people can share openly experiences.
Thank you, Gareth. Well, we can clearly see after these answers that today it is our aim as Holcim to inspire and mobilize action within an industry where women are underrepresented on a global scale, such as Women on Wheels initiative. The Loma Alta example that Delores talked about clearly shows that we want to open doors and make opportunities for absolutely everyone who wants to join us. What is important is to dream big, plan for it, develop a mindset around it, and have a real commitment from the top that can lead to extraordinary results, such as 52% women at Loma Alta. And just like Gareth just mentioned, Affinity Network example shows that at Holcim we have a strong commitment to increasing diversity and inclusion, and through meaningful, purposeful conversation between the employees, this can clearly drive the commitment further. Well, now that we are all inspired after listening to what those 3 key initiatives are all about, I'm sure all the viewers who are tuned in right now want to know how those ideas came about in the first place, a little bit deeper on this particular question. Also, if the support that was expected was received right since the beginning through the network after proposal of these initiatives. So Astrid, I would like to start with you. Can you please shed some light on who thought of Women on Wheels, and was there any specific country chosen in the beginning for it to be implemented?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the initiative was the brainchild of Magali Anderson, our Chief Sustainability Officer. And she really wanted to inspire women to get across the message that it is possible to pursue your dreams, even if that dream is to drive a truck. So we had an inaugural program in Uganda a few years back, and the country organization there was really keen to have a truck driving fleet with a 50-50 workforce, men and women. So they recruited and trained both the men and the women, and they offered them pay parity. They also offered them really good condition with flexibility around children and family life. And of course, the safety of the women on the road was absolutely paramount. So since that inaugural program in Uganda, we have implemented the program now in 6 countries, and we have already added more than 150 women truck drivers to our truck driver family since then.
Wow, I mean, this is just amazing, starting from Uganda and now, expanding it in 6 different countries. And right since the first implementation of this program, things which are absolutely crucial is just pay parity, conditions, working conditions, and then safety especially was so thoroughly thought about and brought in front to make the environment welcoming for women so that they feel like being a part of this initiative. And no wonder we see the proof clearly, because today we have more than 150 women joining in as drivers, especially because the maximum safety has been ensured when they come to work. Amazing. And what about Loma Alta, Dolores? I remember while talking to you previously, you mentioned that there was a specific intention put behind the hiring process. So did you get the sort of support that you expected to get right since the beginning for this specific initiative?
Well, I could say yes. I could say that when we made the commitment in the executive committee and with the P&L leader of aggregates, and we shared the dream, all of us were very enthusiastic about the idea. But of course, we have a lot of fears, and we were not sure if we will find sufficient women in the market to work with us. But almost we have 1 year to prepare the setup and to plan all the process. That was very, very important because, before Loma Alta, we have a failure. In 2017, we tried to implement one program that was operating women, and we failed because we didn't find a lot of women. And after that failure, we understand what was wrong and what we need to do in a new program. That was very good for us. But first, when we decide to have this dream, we have some paradigms to demolish. For example, it was possible to find enough women for this position. Do we have the right culture in our country, in our Holcim Ecuador for that? But in 1 year, we prepare the people, we make a lot of things that I understand is the next question, and I cannot tell you right now. But maybe for us, the most important was dream big. Even if it sounds a little crazy, dream big. That was the most important for us.
Thank you for sharing this with us, Delores. And what really stuck to me from that answer was, first of all, you dared to dream big, and then you made sure that that dream was shared within your sponsors, and it was not just limited to you. So dreaming big and sharing that dream with others to get buy-ins from those that are influential is the key. And you also mentioned that initially there was some hesitation that was faced, but you made sure to put in the enough amount of preparation time to anticipate the possible challenges and to address them beforehand so that you set yourself up for success, especially when it comes to Loma Alta, and to get the right sponsors on board. I think that is also a key point here. Thank you so much again for that. And then Gareth, I would like to come to you to talk a little bit about when it comes to starting an activity like Affinity Network. As a financial controller, this is clearly not your primary job responsibility. So did you have the full support and encouragement, in spite of that, of the EXCO members? And how did you manage to get a buy-in from the other local employees, considering that this would have been an add-on to your existing set of responsibilities?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In short, the answer is yes. I did have 100% support. As I mentioned earlier, the affinity networks, they require equity from the different groups. So the policies need to come from the people affected. It really needs to be driven from the bottom up. So when we started the affinity groups, we sent out a question, a Google form. Actually, it was a Google form to all the employees of the company, asking if anyone was interested to get involved, and there was an overwhelming reply, which sort of confirmed the suspicion that actually, you know, people do want to get involved with this. So I applied, and I applied to be the leader of the multicultural network. And I went through an interview process with the HR business partner, and I also had to discuss it with my line manager. But it's been challenging. You know, this does take some of your time commitment, and really what's kept me going is I've had one-to-ones with our HR EXCO director, and he's given me great feedback on the benefits. I'll come on to the benefits later on in the presentation, but you know, he's given me some good feedback on the benefits the groups are achieving. I've also had one-to-ones with my line manager, who I'm in theory in a time conflict with because of my day job, but he still 100% supports me to do this. And that support gives me the motivation, you know, to keep going despite the extra requirements on my time.
Thank you, Astrid, Dolores, and Gareth for the insightful information. It's true that if you're about to make a disruptive change, you may fail. You have to start again. You have to be patient. You have to dream big, be active, and eventually the success will come. And it's possible to do the change and be the change, actually. It is critical also to have bottom-up initiatives, but also commitment from the top when challenging the status quo and implementing that kind of changes. Since I was little, curiosity and challenging the status quo were my strongest characteristic, actually. If somebody tells me you can't do it, I will do my best and I will do it. And if somebody tells me that's the way we always do it, I will challenge it. Astrid, truck driving jobs were not thought as suitable for women. As you challenged the status quo, did you face any types of bias and barriers? What were the reactions where you met?
Oh gosh, yes, indeed, Ioanna. Truck driving certainly wasn't seen as suitable for women for a long time, or it was thought that women might not be capable of doing the work, and I noticed it myself. And that's one of the things that makes our Women on Wheels program so interesting in terms of breaking the bias. And you have to look at this, because you have to look at this topic even before the recruitment to make sure that the right conditions are met. Things like we mentioned before, the safety of women on the road, but also work-life balance and simple things like hygiene facilities, overnight resting facilities, the well-being and the vehicle suitabilities. What you have to do is you have to change the perceptions across the board, starting with the people that you're actually recruiting. So the good pay, the good benefits, the childcare arrangements, but also things like no-touch freight or home daily, even a simple thing like a safe place to park and to sleep. And these things can have a huge impact. I was talking to one of our female drivers in the US, Crystal, and she said to me, she said she loves meeting new customers because she gets the chance to change the mindset of people on women truck drivers. And she was telling me this story about a customer, and she could clearly see him think like, oh no, it's a woman, we might have trouble. I'm only paraphrasing. But when she was discharging the load, the concrete, it was short, it was sweet. The customers are really keen for her to go back and saying that she's a great driver.
Thank you, Astrid. Great story, actually. As we understood, companies and organizations must prepare the ground in terms of culture, but also ensure the right conditions are in place to make our daily job safe and fun, actually. I strongly believe that eventually it is in our hands to change the scene into more diverse and inclusive. Dolores, did you face any types of bias and barriers when implementing the 52% women Low Malta plant? What reactions were you met with?
I could say that at the beginning, we feel fear and insecurity. We were not sure if we are ready for a plant with a female majority. That was our question. But our biggest doubt was whether we would find women operator of heavy equipment in the labor market of Ecuador. Another question we asked to ourselves was if our chiefs were attractive enough for female. And other factor to take in account for that was that for some positions, we will need a strength, example, to clean some equipment, crusher, etc. All those were our questions. But as I tell you, we have 1 year to prepare this. So what did we do for that? We allied with heavy equipment supplier as Caterpillar, for example, and with Technical Institute to obtain database of women with heavy equipment driver license. But here we found another problem. These women do not have the necessary hour of practice. Then we decided to develop a technical certification program per position per 3 months and hire 2 women per position to evaluate at the end of the training the best. That was a lot of money investment in that, but it was necessary for us. And of course, create the conditions to make practice in our plants. Unfortunately, we have 14 plants of ready mix, 2 of aggregates and 2 of cement, and it was not so difficult to us to prepare our plant to this special training. We invest a lot in engineer process and ergonomics program for women drivers. And especially at the beginning, all our advertising for recruitment was direct to women. We put women in the pictures saying, we are looking for you. And the interviews were based on potential and attitude rather than experience. Meet the person, not the CV, was the most important for us. And at the same time, for the bias and to all the problems, we reinforced a campaign that the name was Respect is the Key, with a lot of training on empathic listening, resistance, do's and don'ts, and etc. With that, we create the condition and we could have the first aggregate plant with 52% of women.
Thank you, Dolores. It is obvious that gender equality is a commitment from the top, and this is how the dreams come true, and the reality, as we all understand, is even better. Thank you. Gareth, can you please express your experience with the aggregate industries team when challenging the status quo by implementing, especially the Women Empowered Network? Did you face any types of bias or barriers?
Thanks, Ioanna. Yes, so driven through our Women Empowered Network, we have a Women in Construction pledge, which is a commitment to attract, develop, and promote more women in our company, and to do this in a fair way. We've also committed to close our gender pay gap, and also we've committed to champion and recognise the achievements of women. We did face a number of barriers, specifically to women. So one of the big challenges women faced at our company was the correct PPE for women to wear on the sites. So historically, we would order through a central procurement system, and the only option for women to buy any PPE was men's fitting PPE, which was often ill-fitting and maybe potentially unsafe if it was too large. So the women's empowered network sort of raised this issue through the network, and so we worked with procurement and suppliers to source female specific PPE, and that also includes maternity wear, and also through our relationships with the suppliers, we actually managed to improve the offering and make it easier for females to buy correct fitting PPE. Another benefit that the Women's Empowered Network did was raise awareness of menopause. So this was typically a topic that was brushed under the carpet for many years. It's a challenge. It's very challenging for women, and we implemented a policy which enables women all members of the company can refer to if ever they're faced with it. So the line manager or female, and it helps give guidance as to how to deal with any women who are currently going through the menopause. So yeah, and then on top of that, we've also launched the listening circles, which also gives women the opportunity in a safe space to talk about any specific challenges that they are facing, and no topic is taboo or is not spoken about. And we find that the listening circles are a great mechanism to share experiences as well, because when people hear the challenges coming from somebody's mouth, it hits differently to something written down on text in an email or a poster. So we've also done really well with that. So we continue to work on our gender pay gap, so I don't think we're fully there yet, and we're still not there with our gender balance, but we're moving in the right direction.
Wow. Well, thanks, Gareth, for sharing all this. And what really stayed with me is no topic is off the table when it comes to the listening circles. And I think one of the examples that you gave of personal protective equipment absolutely just illustrates that offering equal opportunities, that's step one, but sometimes it's not enough, because it's also important to adapt the work environment, including the gear or the ergonomic aspect of things, to the needs of the female employee, and really, really tailor it to that employee need and not make it generic, because it's not just about the tangible aspects, but also the intangible aspect that sometimes people might be a bit scared to bring up. So it's really important to have that continuous communication with the employees, and then really develop the mindset, not just of the female, but the male co-workers, to be ready to accept the introduction of a different gender in the workforce, especially where it's very uncommon to have a woman working. Like Astrid mentioned earlier, it's a really, really beneficial insight that you shared with all of us. Thanks for that. Now, following this discussion, I'd be really curious to know, this is amazing that the initiative has been started and it has been implemented, but mostly probably even the listeners today have the same question in their mind. Okay, what is the actual benefit that it has brought to us as Holcim and to all those individuals who have been part of these initiatives on more personal, individualistic level? Astrid, may I start with you on this?
Mm-hmm. Sure. The Women on Wheels program isn't just an equality program, but there is a global shortage of truck drivers. It's more pronounced in some countries than in others, but there's only a very small percentage of drivers that are female. So let's tap into this potentially unused worker pool. Let's promote women and let's solve at least part of the shortage of truck drivers. On top of that, we're also studying some performance results internally They're not conclusive yet. We've managed to do some initial reviews, and those show that female drivers are equally safe, if not maybe even safer than their male counterparts. It seems to appear that women have fewer crashes, that they have fewer accidents, they have more green kilometers, and therefore improved running costs and less maintenance to the vehicle. It really seems that women are fighting a myth. There is not really a reason why they couldn't drive a truck. And this program really sets out to showcase that.
Fantastic. I mean, it's really amazing to hear about these benefits that the program has already highlighted and what kind of potential it can bring to the company and how it can address the issue of shortage of drivers and how it can ultimately help break the bias. So Delores, I would like to follow up with you on this. As we found out during the conversation that we had previously when we met, you've achieved an excellent gender balance, not just at Loma Alta, but also with your direct reports. So what benefits have you seen from building a gender balanced workforce?
Yes, thank you for the question. 60% of the executive committee are women and 66% of leadership committee in Ecuador are women. I feel very proud of that. I feel that betting on gender diversity and young talents has been the right bet because they bring to the table different perspective and point of view disruptive. Also a lot of passion and energy. I sincerely believe that women have a little more developed empathy, surely because our role of mother, we are more observant, I think, and even incisive. But of course, we are complementary of the men. That is where true wealth lies, sitting different point of view at the table. That's very important. Personally, as Delores Prado, I feel that from my role as female CEO, I need to push for more and better women to reach leadership position and demonstrate their value. It's the least that I need to do for a legacy, for my children, for my daughter, for the society. That's very important for me.
Wow, that's amazing, Delores. You mentioned a very, very powerful word here, legacy. I think it's really important, the kind of contribution you've been making, not just to Holcim, but to the whole society to make it more welcoming for the next fleet, next generation of women who want to participate in the professions that are traditionally looked at as, male inclined professions. So thank you so much for this noble commitment and genuine commitment that we can all clearly see from your contribution. And the impact of this gender balanced aggregates plant really goes beyond the plant with the example it sets within Ecuador as well as in the region and in the group itself. Then I would like to ask the same question to you, Gareth. How has the affinity groups, the listening circles, brought different benefits to the employees in UK and to the organizations overall? Do you have any personal story that was shared by one of the participants in those circles, affinity networks, that you can share with us today, please?
Well, I think the overarching benefit that the affinity groups and the listening circles have brought is they've taken away employee, or maybe not taken away, but reduced employee isolation. So I remember, Madhura, you shared an experience with me at one of your previous employers, where you had a situation where you were isolated because of your ethnicity and background. And what the affinity groups offer is a community where you're not on your own, a place where you can share and speak and talk about your experiences. The same with the listening circles. We've had examples. I won't share the details because it's they're private events, but we've had examples of people who shared for the first time experiences to a group of 40, 50 people, where otherwise they would have told nobody. and they would have just harbored those thoughts and feelings, and it would have just made people feel really isolated. So I'd say one of the main benefits we're getting as well, among improving diversity in our recruitment retention, but is improving employees' mental well-being. We advertise the affinity groups as part of our recruitment process, so that should help attract talents from a different pool of people. And also we do it to champion what's the word, role models. So, you know, if we've got a success story, be it by a woman or by a person of ethnic minority, we use the affinity groups to celebrate those achievements. And you know, I like to use the mantra, if you can see it, you can be it. So, you know, a lot of the success stories previously, perhaps, you know, something that was done well by a woman previously, that might not have been communicated to the organisation, and it wouldn't have been known about. But now, with the affinity groups and the listening circles, it's more of an open book, and we can celebrate the achievements, which should help inspire other people in the company.
Wow. I mean, just by saying that, you are breaking the bias, Gareth, because vulnerability and empathy are qualities that are traditionally looked at as feminine qualities. But you being with us today clearly shows that it goes beyond women. And if it's a quality that a person possesses, it's really irrespective of the gender. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Gareth.
Madhura, I just want to add something else as well. Sorry, interrupting. Also, the affinity groups, they're not restricted to the particular protected characteristic. So, for example, we do encourage males to join our women's network, and we call those people allies. So that helps embed those affinity groups into the wider community as well. So, thanks.
Thanks for adding that important detail. So the key takeaways really after this conversation with Astrid, Delores, and Gareth for me have been so far that, you know, when it comes to starting an initiative that is a bit different, a bit bold, which breaks the bias, it's very, very obvious to have emotions like fear, insecurity, hesitation. It's absolutely normal. But what's important is not to be overwhelmed by it, and instead of being bogged down by it, address it one by one. As Delores mentioned, take your time to prepare, to address those fears, to make sure that you come out with flying colors and you succeed in what you started with. And like Gareth mentioned earlier, it's all about celebrating the differences in order to promote the diversity and inclusion. And as Astrid mentioned, making sure that it's not just the initiative coming from bottom up, but also the support from the top is obtained, and making influential people the stakeholders in order for this initiative to become a success. And then the rest takes place on its own once more and more people join such initiatives, this movement to break the bias. So that has been the key takeaway for me around the empowerment, challenging the status quo. So I would really like to thank all the participants for sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and inspiring all of us through this amazing conversation that we have had today. And with this, I would like to hand it over to Ioanna, please, to make the concluding remarks.
Thank you, Madhura. I would like to thank our speakers who really inspired us with their remarkable projects, actually, by breaking the biases and promoting gender equality while building progress for people and planet. And it's always impossible until it's done, actually. And with this discussion, we all realize that it is possible to have 66% of women in leadership roles in Ecuador. It is possible to operate a plant with more than 50% of women, and it is possible to have women truck drivers. If you spark action, it is possible to create a diverse and inclusive workplace where all can be safe and thrive for a sustainable and innovative business for the future, actually. Thank you, everyone who joined. Don't forget to take a look to our career page for exciting opportunities. Let's keep building progress together. Thank you.
Hi.